Hi, parents, and welcome. This is no longer WPLS Live, but we are so thrilled to be able to be gathered here to share with you a little bit more about what's going on in the life of our school as we approach the end of the 2022-2023 school year. I'm going to be sharing some slides with you tonight, and I thought as we begin tonight that I wanted to share more about our community and how we can continue together in community. So one of our desires as we gather together is to commit to the Lord the many things that we know that are still before us and unknown. And so I'm going to be sharing these slides with you and talking about how we can continue in that community. The prayer that we have as we gather here tonight is we are gathered here because we believe that we are called together into a work we cannot yet know the fullness of. Still, we trust the voice of the one who has called us. And so we offer to you, O God, these things, our dreams, our plans, our vision. Shape them as you will, our moments and our gifts. May they be invested toward bright, eternal ends. I love that prayer because it is a prayer of surrender as we think about our future and also look back at where we've been as a school, and we would continue to want to commit to God these dreams and visions and ideas that we have to move our school forward together. One of the most important pieces of our school, as we all know, are our staff and faculty. And one of my great delights in having our WASC and NLSA accreditation team here recently was that they were able to also affirm just what wonderful staff and faculty that we have here. And I want to share with you one of the comments that was given to us by one of the visiting team members. She said, "I'm so impressed and kind of humbled to see just the love and care and the dedication you all have, especially your school leadership and the teachers who hold up and are the backbone of the school." So as we begin tonight, I just want to shout out our wonderful staff and faculty for their contributions to your children and to our community at large. All of them, whether they be our custodian, Mr. George, or Miss Yoshi, who's in the office, or Mrs. Leung, or our teachers who are in the trenches of the classroom, Mrs. Finley, as we see her come across the screen, and her decades of contribution here. We know how valuable and how important it is that these staff and faculty love your children. And during this past weekend, we celebrated the contributions that a few of our faculty have made with the years of service that they have given to our school. So Mr. Dwight has served us 5 years. Ms. Chan, including her year of student teaching, has been here 6 years. Miss Yoshi, she's been here now 10 years, a decade. Mrs. Angie Holt, who's in the church office, she's been here also 10 years. Mrs. Ju, who returned to us this past year, is now at her 10-year mark at West Portal Lutheran. Ms. Amano at 12 years, Ms. Ramiro at 15 years, and our wonderful accountant, Mr. Howard Scully, who's now been with us 20 years. I know we've seen a lot of changes in the recent past for West Portal Lutheran, but at the same time, we have wonderful staff and faculty who are dedicated to seeing our school thrive and succeed. And one of the things as we look ahead and forward to next school year is that we want to announce to you a couple of staff transitions. One of our goals is to continue to retain, of course, our great staff and faculty, but we also want to bless them in seasons that are upcoming for them beyond West Portal Lutheran. We want to first announce that Mrs. Priest, who took on her role here as a 6A homeroom teacher and also as our English teacher for 6th grade and social studies teacher, she came to us back from Seattle, having lived there for a while with her family, and as an alum of West Portal Lutheran, joining us as a teacher. And it was wonderful to have her here, and she really felt called to come and step into the teaching world after experiencing all of what we experienced in the pandemic with having to switch to remote learning. So with her transition into next year, she feels called to step away from the formal and full-time teaching role into becoming an alumni outreach coordinator. When extended to her with her great hospitality and her warmth to be able to contribute to the vision that we do have to be able to build our alumni network and continue to also grow the sharing of our vision to more than just beyond our current community, and step and connect back with some of our alums who are either from the recent past or the far past. So she will be joining us next year as our alumni outreach coordinator, supporting some of our marketing and admissions efforts as well. And she will also be teaching sixth grade catechism. She will continue to keep her foot into the teaching world, and she will be happy to continue in that way as she is here next year. One of the other transitions that we do want to announce is that Mr. Jin will be transitioning from us. And so I'm going to give Mr. Jin a bit of time to explain what's next for him. Mr. Jin?
Hi, West Portal Lutheran School family. I just want to take this time to express with a sad heart about my departure from West Portal Lutheran. It was not an easy decision to make of not returning next academic year, but personally, it was a necessary decision. At the same time, I'm eagerly hopeful to hear of the good reports of how God will continue to and will bless the work that He has begun at West Portal Lutheran Church and School. And I just want to just thank Principal Lee and Pastor Binns, as well as Pastor Kerr, for the opportunity that they gave me to be a part of an amazing team of staff and teachers. It's really been an amazing experience working with them. And lastly, I just want to commend you parents for the hard work that you put in to help your child flourish and succeed academically and in life. You have all been a blessing to me as I witness your display of steadfastness and diligence and devotion in supporting your child. So with that, if I may, I would just like to conclude with a word of prayer. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you with a hope-filled heart, knowing that you are a good Father, and every gift, every good and perfect gift comes from you. And the most important gift you have given us is indeed that your Son, in whom we have salvation and life and hope. And one of the many other wonderful gifts you've given us is West Portal Lutheran Church and School. I pray that you will continue to bless evidently and faithfully the work that you have begun here through the vision and the leadership of Principal Lee and others. Lord, I pray that your presence will powerfully manifest in the lives of the teachers as well as the students. Lord, we ask that you will be glorified and exalted here at the school. We ask all of these things in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Jin, I want to thank you because I know when we were looking for a fifth grade teacher, we were praying very, very hard. And I knew when we connected with you that it was clear that God wanted you here. I know there were some challenges in even bringing you on board here, but I'm so grateful for how you've loved our children, imparted with them the gospel truth, and really reiterated how loved they are. And you're going to be dearly, dearly missed. I know it, and I know we're going to see some tears. But do know that we bless you, and we look forward to connecting with you at some point in the future again.
Thank you, Principal Lee. And I just want to give a quick shout out to my class 5B and 5B parents. You've been a huge and wonderful support to me, and it has made the past 10 months truly a joy to work alongside the staff and to lead and serve and teach and educate the students. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jin. It has been my true joy and delight to be able just to see how amazing our staff and faculty are firsthand. Every day I see it. And it's important for you as parents to be able to know just how we support our teachers. And so in this past year, we looked at our teachers as our frontline workers, understanding that they need that support. And I'm sure parents, even though our memories are fading from us, that it was difficult when our students were all online at home and you were having to put on that hat of a pseudo instructor and teacher to them. Here, we want to share with you our support structure with our teachers being at the top and just knowing how we support them with our lead teachers and our staff here. Our leadership team, which is comprised of myself, Mrs. Ju is our teaching learning curriculum lead, and also Mrs. Cairo, who is our middle school counselor. Our school board acts as an advisory board to us and is made up of parents who all love our school and serve our school and want to see it flourish and give input in how the school can continue to do that. They give input to myself, and I take direction from our senior pastor and also receive the oversight of the church council. And so I want to pass the time over now to Cliff Wong, who is our school board president and also sits on our church council. And he'll be sharing with us more about how we can invite our community to have deeper involvement and integration into the many things that are happening at Westport Lutheran. Cliff?
Yeah, thank you, Charisse. So I've got a question for you. Are you the type of parent who diligently drops your child off at school, picks them up at the end of the day, and maybe supervises their academic progress through homework and report cards, but largely leaves the rest of their education to the school? Well, I confess that I was exactly that parent once upon a time. I mean, I was an alumni of Westport Lutheran. Both my children went there, many of my relatives went to Westport Lutheran. So I trust the school with my child's education in a Christ-centered environment. But I would drop my son off at school. He would get a massive hug from our assistant principal, and I'd be happy with that, and I would be on my way. Of course, our busy lives and demanding routines often lead us to this approach. But about 5 years ago, I felt the calling to do more. So I took a leap of faith, stepped out of my comfort zone, and decided to join the school board. My objective at that time was simple: to try and make a difference, to move from a passive role to an active one to support the school and its direction into the future. And today, I can't begin to express how rewarding this journey has been. And I'm here to encourage you to participate and also talk to you about how you can support the school. In short, you have the ability to impact not only your child's experience, but also that of over 300 other students and their families. I joined the school board simply as a member to make a difference, and over time, I became director of the school board and a member of church council. I've seen firsthand how parents can make a difference in our school. An active community enriches our children's education, it bolsters unity, it bolsters community, and it fortifies the foundation of our children's future success. When we volunteer, we're not merely offering assistance, we're not merely cleaning classrooms, we're not merely building structures, we're helping build a vibrant, engaged community, demonstrating to our children the importance of participation and empathy. Yes, the social emotional learning stuff. And I can tell you honestly, running a nationwide engineering company on the side of working on behalf of the school, it is the connections and interpersonal skills that we develop in life that make the difference. By volunteering to help in our school, we are exemplifying that a thriving community is integral to both personal and collective development. Serving on the school board and our parent-teacher league is massively important as a member of our community and for the benefit of all of our students. We especially seek representation from parents of students at all grade levels, ensuring that diverse perspectives and experiences are taken into account. For a moment, I'd like to talk about what we as school board and PTL do for our school. As members of our school board, we act as a conduit between parents and the school administration, reinforcing and enhancing our mission, vision, and core values. Roles on the school board include secretary, PTL president, marketing chair, community building, technology and communications, and alumni chair, and many more roles. Each are supported by dedicated committees. Your engagement on the school board or any of its committees echo far beyond our school's boundaries, enriching our children's education and fostering future community involvement. In past years, we have spurred, as a school board, implementation of technology within the school, enabled distance learning during COVID, a platform for school and parent communication, yes, Parent Square, Mandarin as a language program, social emotional learning, and supported the update of our school's mission, vision, and core values, as well as many other initiatives that are directly derived from parent input, yes, your input, from school surveys and other places. By the way, I'm remiss at sending out the results of our last survey a few months ago. These results are very encouraging with respect to how our school is doing. I'm very proud of our school's accomplishments, as well as those of our teachers and our school's administration. I'll send the results out following this meeting. And I want to put a shout out for Parent Teacher League. It is the Parent Teacher League's mission to amplify students' experiences, cultivate fellowship, and nurture service-oriented Christian leaders. The PTL organization underpins many vital resources in our school, from classroom supplies to enrichment programs. Roles within the PTL include the president, treasurer, room parent coordinator, fundraising chair, and many other roles. They provide a multitude of opportunities for involvement and contribution at various grade levels. Parents, your participation is pivotal in preparing our children for their future. By volunteering, you're aiding in crafting an engaging community that influences not only the education of today, but also molds the community leaders of tomorrow through our children. Over the summer and at the beginning of the next school year, we will be looking for parent volunteers in the school board committees, parent-teacher league, or parents as room parents. I encourage you to support the school. The return of your investment of time and care to our school is priceless. And if that isn't encouraging enough, I know how important high school is for you parents and your children. High school applications ask, how have you and your child leaned into your community? Well, I think if you volunteer for the school and support the school, you've got a great answer. But aside from that, it is really for the school and your children and their support and their future. So I thank you for your time and trust in the West Portal Lutheran Church and School community, and send it back to you, Cherise. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Cliff. Cliff, I just want to give my personal thanks to you, the school board, of course, our PTL as well, with Wendy as the PTL president. You guys you were the first to welcome me into this community that is West Portal Lutheran, and you continue to make our community what it is today. And I know that we've been through a lot of change, and I know that community and the unity being in all caps there has really kept us grounded and moving ahead towards a brighter future. And so I really want to thank you, Cliff, and that invitation for all of you parents to continue to be involved is one that I treasure greatly. And I have seen in every day, when you parents show up and volunteer for the different tasks that we offer for you to be helping with. And so from big to small, whether it be last night, just watching parents stack trays up from the sports appreciation night, to parents who are coaching our kids on the basketball court, volleyball court, to parents who put together their furniture so that our students can be able to have picnic tables to eat lunch at. There are so many things that I have seen parents do, and I'm really very, very grateful for. So as we continue to project to our future, we know that your involvement means the success of our children. So we do look forward to what that will be in the coming months, and especially as we head into the next school year. So thank you again, Cliff.
Thanks, Ruth.
We're going to transition now here and move from the fabulous network that we have of teachers, faculty, and also school board and church council to discussing what we're all here about. And as a school, we are solving for positive, healthy, whole learners who are transformed by the gospel and prepared for a purposeful life of learning, service, and leadership. And this is what anchors us as our vision, that we want to see our students be confident in who they are so they can go out into the world to be able to continue to learn and to serve and to be leaders. And last year, when we asked parents and we asked our school board, we asked our church council, we asked our staff and faculty, what does that success look like for our students? And more than just the success of having the grades and having the test scores, is that we want our kids, as Cliff shared earlier as well, in the real world, we want them to trust God for their lives. We want them to be aware of who they are, confident, well-rounded, having positive social skills, being able to love learning. And we know that comes with a community that comes together in support of that. And we talked also last year of what it means for our students to be able to love their learning versus just doing school. And we know that we've all been there as students ourselves at one point in time, or even currently, that we all believed in doing well. And I certainly do and continue to do in many ways as well. But doing school feels like if we're on that track that we want to perform, we want to compete, we want to sometimes check out when things aren't interesting to us or motivating us because we're not going to get the grade for it. But what does it really mean that when we embrace learning? When we embrace learning, we love the process of being able to collaborate together or learn for the sake of learning. We understand failing as a point of growth. Just now, it was a crushing defeat, but we saw our 6th grade girls lose the championship by 1 point. That was a crushing defeat, but as I told the girls, heads up, just hold your heads up high, because this is an opportunity for all of us. It sucks to learn, but there's lessons to be learned out of that. And from that comes an eagerness and a hunger and a curiosity to continue to strive to do better. So we want to see our kids love learning. We don't want to see them just merely doing school for the sake of doing well. And as we understand how to do that together as a school, I equate it to like all these different puzzle pieces. I love doing puzzles. I love doing puzzles on my own. I love doing 1,000-piece puzzles on my own. And at the very beginning of doing a puzzle, nothing looks like it should be fitting together, and you have to dig for the pieces, or as I do, those edge pieces, to be able to put together some kind of idea and framework for putting all the other pieces in. And everyone has a strategy for how they do that. Well, as we put the puzzle pieces together at West Portal Lutheran, we do know that it's not just merely human hands that's involved in putting these pieces together. We do know that God has been faithful in these past 70 plus years that West Portal Lutheran has been in existence, and we continue to trust in his faithfulness. There are so many pieces, and as I said early on in my time of stepping into the principal seat, I didn't know left from right, up from down. Everything seemed very, very confusing. And until we began to come together as community to say, hey, what exactly do we do as a school, and put together a mission and a vision and a set of values, did things become a little bit more clear so that we can move forward. And in our mission statement, this is what we do. We're dedicated to educating and nurturing students as a whole, addressing them as a whole child in their faith and character development, their social emotional growth, and academic excellence in a Christ-centered environment, to continue to build in them a love for learning, service, and leadership, as our vision says. And our school-wide learner outcomes, you hear us speak of them often. And these are what we want a West Portal Lutheran student and graduate to look like. And there are 5 C's. We want them to be a Christ follower, to build a faith-filled life rooted in the gospel of Jesus Christ. We want them to be critical and creative thinkers, to be able to connect, analyze, put information together in new ways. We want them to be able to communicate, articulate their ideas thoughtfully in speaking and also in writing. We want them to be able to collaborate, have those skills to work together as a part of community. And we also want them to care. To be a caring citizen in this world is to extend that compassion beyond our own community into the world. And who knows where the Lord will take our students and our graduates as they move on from here, but also the opportunities that they have here in San Francisco to impact our very local community is an opportunity we want to continue to build within our student body. And so our school-wide learner outcomes are our opportunity to think, how are we achieving this through our curriculum, through our teaching, through everything that we do at the school. And so everything kind of ties back to these SLOs, as we call them. but everything is done with our values. And values is basically how we do school, how we do business here at West Portal Lutheran. And so in all things, as we go about each school day and every opportunity that we're in community, we uphold these values. We want to do everything in love. We want to do things with grace, knowing that we will fail and mess up and disappoint each other. We want to do things with integrity, to be honest, and to be okay that sometimes we're not okay. So having that integrity and respect then, not just for others, but also for ourselves. And in these values, we are able to bring together our mission and our vision of the school. And as we discussed what our mission and vision and our values and our school-wide learner outcomes were to our accreditors, who are both WASC, the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and also the NLSA, National Lutheran School Accreditation, it was initially a very daunting process. I'll be very honest, when I heard that we would have an accreditation visit so short into my time here at West Portal Lutheran and not knowing exactly what it entailed. It was an opportunity, though, for us to come together, despite how daunting it was, to really look within and to really understand how our students achieving and to approach it with a growth mindset. We talked about this early on in the year as a highlight of our themes of social emotional learning. What does it mean that when we look at how we are achieving and how we are helping our students to achieve, that there are areas that we need to continue to grow in? And so accreditation was our opportunity to look at that deeply and to be honest with ourselves and approach it with a growth mindset. Hey, these are areas that we want to get better in. Accreditation itself, it's self-reflection, it's self-evaluation, it's student focus, asking what are our students achieving, and also it involves the collaboration of our entire school. And we are very, very thankful for all the stakeholders who came together to be able to help us to put our self-study or accreditation report together. It was 176 pages thick, and I know our accreditation team said it was very, very long, but most of us who contributed to it have done grad school, and we love learning, we love to write, and so it became 176 pages. But again, it gave us that opportunity to really look closely at different areas of our school. And the first area of our school that WASC and NLSA asked us to look at was how are we setting up our students here in their learning? And so it looks at things like our purpose, our mission, vision, our school-wide learner outcomes, our governance with our leadership here. How are we set up here at West Portal Lutheran? Our staff and how we retain and recruit excellent teachers and staff. What's the environment of our school? How do we report our student progress, and how do we continue to build a plan for how we are going to improve? So that was the first section of our accreditation report. The second section, which took a huge chunk, is basically what we do in the trenches of our classroom, which is curriculum, instruction, and assessment, asking the questions of what are our students learning, how are they learning, and how we use assessment to understand that they're learning, and how are we using that to tie into our school-wide learner outcomes. The next portion of our accreditation asks us to look at what is our support for our student personal and academic growth. How are students connected together in that community? What's the involvement, as we have called out just earlier, of our parents and our entire community at large in the success of our school? And then finally, the last part of our accreditation visit was to look at our resource management and development. And these are the tactical needs that we have to actually do school, which include finances, includes our sites, our Sunset and Slope campus, and how are we setting ourselves up well to be able to continue to educate our students in that sense. Beyond just those measures of those 4 areas that WASC looks at, we also want to understand that one thing that we are building here as a school in that social emotional learning growth is that we want our students to continue to grow in this emotional intelligence, being smart with their feelings and their emotions. And that takes 3 important things. First, when we look at ourselves, it takes the awareness of self, how we regulate ourselves, what our motivation is, and then how we extend that beyond ourselves with empathy and also social skills. And as we ask that question, one area of critical learner needs, so WASC and LNLSA asked us, hey, what do you see based on your data that you're getting from your students as critical learning needs, things that you need to focus on. And so we knew clearly as we introduced last year that one thing that we wanted to do was to build and implement a direct focus on social emotional learning in the school curriculum. We have done this in different ways, maybe piecemeal in the past, but to have a direct focus on that and connect that to our school-wide learner outcomes as you see them listed there below. And we knew in this past year that this was going to be important, but it was the first step that we took into building CEL into our curriculum. We borrowed from the Castle framework, which we also introduced early on in the year, and it brings in some of those ideas that we shared again about emotional intelligence, of self-awareness, managing ourselves, being aware of who we are in relationship to others, and then, of course, making responsible decisions. And as you know, we were able to build that into our social emotional development areas into the report card. And we were also able as a school to be able to come together each month in different themes. This past couple of months, we've been talking about community and teamwork, but we started this year with growth mindset and building upon an understanding of what that means for our learning and our growth. And we also brought in some curriculum to be able to support that with, to be able to give teachers the tools to be able to help our students to reflect on these different areas. So Habitudes was brought in for our middle school, and Frenzy was introduced a little bit later in the year, more as a pilot, and will be continue to be more directly focused on as a curriculum into our new school year. And we're very excited that both of these were supported by some additional funds that we were able to have as a part of our EANS grant that was given to us during the pandemic. One of the other things that we're very thankful for was the opportunity to work with a marriage family therapist. Her name is Kelly Pongder, and though we didn't introduce her to you as parents and to our community, she was working behind the scenes with us as teachers and as staff to be able to reflect on ourselves and our own social emotional growth, and to be able to think about how we can do that best with our students. And she affirmed, as she was reflecting, just on the ways in which we were able to grow as a team, to be able to build together our students in their growth of social emotional learning. And we're excited next year to be further supported by having a counselor that will be embedded after school for 6 hours a week with Christian Counseling Center. And we believe that that's going to really help us to support our students with an extra step that goes beyond just the expertise of us as faculty and staff, but we borrow from the professionalism that we can have by having a counselor here embedded. And so you'll be hearing more about that as we enter into the new school year. The second area of critical learning need that we identified to WASC and NLSA is that we believe that we needed to strengthen reading and writing skills with particular attention to the population of English language learners that we have within our school. And you've heard about this in different times about how we are working on writing as a whole faculty, but I want to give an opportunity now for you to hear from Mrs. Ju. I also want to just say a word of thanks to Mrs. Ju. She, midway through the year, had to step into the 5th grade classroom due to some ongoing personal and health issues from Miss Louie, who was our 5th grade teacher to start this year. And though she did not get to fully tackle her role as teaching and learning curriculum for the second part of this year, she has continued to give to our community in so many different ways. And one is just taking on our writing initiative to be able to look at writing across the grade level. So she's going to share more here in a short video about how we are gathering together as faculty to be able to do that.
Good evening, West Porto Lutheran families. One of our strategic initiatives for next school year will be to strengthen our writing program. So we've assembled a team of teachers representation from both lower and upper elementary as well as middle to contribute their thoughts and ideas in making curricular decisions that will provide direction for next year's writing program. We met earlier this month to formulate some initial ideas that will serve as a foundation moving forward. Foremost, we wanted to outline some core principles that will help us guide our writing instruction. These will anchor us in providing a coherent writing program for all of our students, and they include the following: increasing the amount of time that we spend in writing in each content area, also teaching a process approach to writing along with explicit writing strategies, implementing the gradual release of responsibilities so that students take more ownership of their writing, scaffolding and differentiating new skills for students, incorporating times for peer collaboration, celebrating and sharing our writing with one another, and lastly, emphasizing the building of a student's writing identity. We also wanted to equip our students with tools that will help them with accessing resources for them to be successful writers. So these include writing folders and journals to house all of their learning and to have that follow them throughout the grade levels, portfolios of published writing, writing checklists so that students know what they should include in their writing, standards-based rubrics so that students have an idea of what good writing should look like, and then writing exemplars to also help students know what to aim for and what good writing looks like. We wanted to encourage our writers to write for different reasons and purposes, and one way to do so is to focus as a school on genres of writing each quarter. So we've outlined the following that all grades K through 8 will follow. In quarter 1, students will be writing narrative, quarter 2, expository, quarter 3, persuasive, and quarter 4, research. We also wanted to incorporate times in which they can publish and celebrate their writing with one another, and so we'll do so throughout the year. In addition, we want to also acknowledge that there's other forms of writing that students also enjoy that we will interweave throughout the year, and these include poetry, letter writing, mystery, fantasy, personal narrative, and reflection. As a faculty, we recognize that we want to commit ourselves to bettering our practice, and so here are some of the potential next steps for us. We want to continue to share our best practices with one another. We want to collaborate across content areas. We want to create a writing learning progression so that in K1, 2, 3, all the way up to 8th grade, we understand what students should be focused on in their writing throughout the grade levels. We also want to incorporate more collaborative planning time so that we can plan together and also plan for bigger chunks of units so that we understand what to include in our instruction. We also want to provide targeted professional development. And lastly, to open up our practice by conducting peer observations. So we have an ambitious plan, and we look forward to implementing all of these. Please stay tuned for more next year. Thank you.
We are very grateful to our team of core teachers who are working and tackling our writing initiative. And as a former English teacher myself, I'm really looking forward to hearing more of our students' voices through their writing. And so you'll be definitely hearing more from us as we turn the page to next year and look towards some of these writing initiatives that Mrs. Ju shared with us. WAS did affirm that this is an area of need for us, so we will continue to work on this as an area that we want to continue to have a growth mindset
Good evening,
about.
West Portal Lutheran families.
Move on to the next slide here, which we'll talk about what WASP was able to highlight to us and reflect back to us as staff and faculty and as a whole school about areas of strength that we have. And so when WASP comes in, when they did their visit a few weeks back, they look at everything, including the report that we gave them. And as they met with different stakeholders, they also took notes and put together their accreditation report. And so what things they wanted to affirm and highlight to us as areas of strength are our administration and our school leadership and faculty. They also saw that we're making efforts to measure the effectiveness of our school-wide programs and make adjustments to our offerings as well to better meet the needs of our students. There has been an improved shift in collaboration with all school stakeholders. There is a strong alumni base. We know that just from alums who are on staff and faculty, but also within our own parent community. Our school employs various strategies to encourage the involvement of parents. We continue to do that and make a call out for greater involvement. There has been improved use of technology within our instructional program. There is multi-tiered systems of support for social, emotional health and wellness. So those are areas that they said are our strengths. Areas for follow-up for us. So one being, since we were a WASC and NLSA joint accreditation, is that they wanted us to continue to preserve our Lutheran identity as a school. And they asked that we continue as teachers to ensure that Lutheran doctrine is being learned, applied, and practiced by the staff. And that starts with a plan that's driven by our church administration, the senior pastor, and also the church council, and that we will continue as faculty receive faculty professional development in these areas to continue to maintain, again, that Lutheran identity that we have as a school, even at a time where most of us as staff and faculty are not a direct part of the church here at West Portal Lutheran. The administration and staff, secondly, are asked to continue to develop more systematic and frequent processes to formally and authentically evaluate and revise report cards that are standards-based. And that's one thing that we have discussed as a school, and we will continue to build moving forward. If that seems foreign and strange to you, we'll unpack more of what that means as being standards-based, basically aligned to the state standards that we are held to for each grade level and content area in our students' learning. Thirdly, a cohesive strategy and structure for formative and summative assessment design. If that also sounds strange to you, that's more teacher speak for us to understand how students are learning along the way, to do it along the way as well as at the end of something, and to implement as needed, and to have a formalized process in which we're looking at some of the data, test data, and also how our students are achieving together. Fourthly, to continue to develop a collaborative and robust budgeting process between all stakeholders. So this is in the area of our resources, so that we can continue to have the opportunity to work together towards those school-wide action plan and goals that we have. Fifth, our school is encouraged to expand on our efforts to analyze all of that student assessment data. So more work in the critical thinking area of how our students are achieving. And then sixth, to develop initiatives to continue to recruit and retain teachers, as we mentioned earlier, the backbone of our school. So those are areas of follow-up that WASC recommended to us. And in so doing, we folded those into our strategic initiatives. The strategic initiatives were in a draft form already that we presented to WASC. They were started as a result of my participation with Principal 360, looking more closely at the areas of our school that continue to be critical areas of need and follow-up, and then and also incorporating after WASC did their report and gave us their recommendations, to be able to say, hey, here's how we can continue to fold in the things that WASC saw into our strategic initiatives. So to share with you our strategic initiatives, there are 5 main ones, and we want to talk about them. And there's many SMART goals that are connected to each, but we're just going to give you sort of an overview of what those things are. The biggest thing that we wanted to work on as a school just at the outset was to revitalize our campus culture and climate. We know that it's so important to get the culture right as far as our community to be able to move us forward. And so that was important for us to do, and we did that in different ways. We did this by looking at our mission, vision, values, and SLOs together. We did this by adopting and implementing a framework for social emotional learning to understand the importance of what our children will need as they look towards the future. We had to look at revising our organizational support structure, which you saw in an earlier slide during this presentation. We also knew that we needed to maintain regular school and parent communication. That was something that was started on and needed to continue to be built regularly to be able to talk and communicate with parents about what's happening with the vision of the school, but also what are the kids learning on the day-to-day. And to also establish processes and a platform for legacy keeping, right? So to be able to understand what we did well as a part of our past and what we need to continue to do as we build into the future. So building campus culture and climate helps set us up for a greater and more cohesive community so that we can work on some of the other initiatives. So it's strategic initiative number 2 is to continue to promote our school value, proposition, and brand. And we know that we needed, as a school, to be able to form a clear identity, to be able to then to recruit and attract enrollment. And so our goal was in this next school year was to enroll enrollment to 2 kindergarten classes. We also want in the future, as our single classes come up the pike to grow sixth grade enrollment to 2 classes. That's third grade will get there in 2026 if I'm doing my thinking correctly. And then also to increase our school retention rate to 98%, and to be able to update our school social media to put our value proposition to the greater masses at least 4 or 5 times a week. And that happens through our Instagram and also our Facebook. In these areas, we have different, again, SMART goals. And one of them this year was to bring on board a marketing and admissions coordinator. So we're very thankful for one of our parents, Renice Louie, who was able to be a part of our staff and faculty this year to assist with some of our marketing and admissions needs. And we're very excited to announce that next year we will be opening a second kindergarten class. This is the enrollment from 2017 to now. We know that we are graduating 58th graders for the class of 2023. And so that was a large number to be able to replace. But if you look at our numbers as of now, we're still getting applications, which we're very happy about. We have 38 kindergartners. We'll be splitting into 2 classes. We are at a current enrollment of 323, and this year's current enrollment is 321. So we replaced all of the departing students and any of those students who are also withdrawing from our school, moving away, et cetera. And so we're seeing for the first time in a few years just a bit of growth. And so we're very happy to celebrate that and to be looking for a kindergarten teacher. Our third strategic initiative is to continue to enhance a learner-centered education. I know that's on the minds of a lot of you as parents. And so how we want to do that is to be able to train teachers in differentiating instruction, to be able to understand the different needs that our learners have in the classrooms, to be able to create student leadership development opportunities. Those come in small ways and also bigger ways. Small ways include our 6th graders giving back to our 5th graders in this past week of telling them and helping them through some of the preparation they need for middle school. In the next week, we'll also see our 4th graders hosting our 3rd graders to be able to introduce them into the SLO campus. We also know that we have this year student ambassadors who've helped be a voice and a presence to our school and to be able to connect with others who visit us, and our student council, which we continue to have here at our school. And other also ways for students to contribute, whether it be the yearbook committee or helping us with campus care. There's been different opportunities that we've given to students to be able to build that leadership, which is a part of our vision of our school as well. We also, in order to enhance learner-centered education, need to look at our curriculum and have an annual curriculum review cycle and a way to revise and implement this. WAS did recognize that Saxon Math, if you haven't heard yet, will be discontinued after this school year. And so we next year we'll be continuing with Saxon, but we'll have to look for a robust program that goes beyond Saxon Math. So in the areas of math and all subjects, to have a curriculum review cycle, to formalize a support structure for our 8th graders applying to high school. So taking care of our kids from the beginning as they begin in kindergarten, all the way to the end as they get to 8th grade. And this year we were able to bring on Mrs. Cairo as our middle school counselor. And I had the opportunity to work with both 8th grade homerooms on their high school applications, understanding more of what their strengths are and then how they communicate that to someone else who doesn't know them, in the form of these applications that they had to fill out. So we wanted to make sure that we were supporting our students all the way to the end as they move on to graduate from West Portal Lutheran. And then, as you heard, a lot of what WASC is recommending to us to continue to make instructional decisions by looking at and collecting formative and summative assessment data. Basically, that's just us helping to analyze what our students are doing in terms of achieving, and to be able to incorporate that into our decision making in the classroom and our curriculum as well. The 4th strategic initiative is to continue to build into our teachers. So we want to strengthen teaching, learning, curriculum, and professional learning. It's very important that we continue to help our teachers be inspired to be able to teach. And so we want to be able to do that by setting them up better for their teaching. So curriculum maps are important because they tell us how our students are coming from the beginning of the year to the end of the year in either a content area or grade level. And that started this year with some curriculum mapping through a tool called Curriculum Track. You want to be able to maintain good teachers and staff on our faculty by ensuring a teacher retention rate at 90% or more. We know that has been a concern and a challenge that's been expressed by parents just to keep good teachers at our school. We also want to design professional learning plans and initiate teacher evaluation process so that teachers can continue in their own development and be challenged and sharpened by each other as team. And then we also want to be able to increase a collaborative teacher culture. And if you know anything about the field of teaching, you probably know that all teachers are hunkered in their own classrooms, and sort of we equate it to like an egg crate or egg carton, where every teacher is in their little section of the egg crate, but we might not all get to collaborate well with each other, especially with 2 campuses that keeps us geographically apart. So we want to build into that, and part of having a teaching learning curriculum lead is to bridge some of those gaps and be able to bring in some mentorship, bring in some additional support that our teachers need. Fifth, we want to clarify and articulate the financial. This is all related under the resource planning for our school, maintenance and capital improvement plans. And involved with this strategic initiative is to continue to develop a financial plan that aligns with our school mission and vision. One thing that we're very happy about in this past year is that our school budget, though was projected to be in a 6-figure deficit this past year, is actually in a 6-figure surplus. And so we're very thankful. I'm very thankful to Mr. Howard Scully for his work with our finances and all that I'm learning too as principal of what goes into our financial plan. But our school is in a healthy spot, and we're very thankful for that at the end of this year. We want to devise a fundraising plan for the school. We know that our school is 98% tuition based, but with the bringing on of an alumni outreach coordinator, with thinking things more strategically through with our school board about how we can bring fundraising into a part of not just our current in-house community, but also alum and our greater community at large to continue to support teachers or projects that we have as a school to continue to grow. We know that that's something we need to start on. We also know we need to formulate maintenance and a capital improvement plan. We do have 2 separate school buildings and campuses to maintain and to think about for the future. So that needs certainly attention as we look ahead. And we also, in doing all of these things, need the support of just understanding and looking at where our resources are and what our students, as well as our faculty and you parents, have expressed on things like your parent satisfaction survey as things that are of need for our community. So that, I know, is an entire mouthful. And if I were to share with you all the detailed notes that are under each strategic initiative, I know that would take us more time. But our goal for tonight was really to be able to share with you as parents that we are very thankful for the community here that is West Portal Lutheran and the many people that make up this community. But we also want you to be assured that we have plans that we are holding loosely. And as we earlier started our session off, we hold them loosely before the Lord and ask him to bless these plans, this vision, these dreams that we have, because we know that the future is still yet unknown, but it is one that we know we can move forward with confidence, knowing the faithfulness of our God. We want to continue to invite you to continue to engage us as staff and faculty, myself as principal, on areas that you want to contribute to at our school as they align with some of these strategic initiatives that we shared. Just on a personal note, these past 2 years have they been a lot. When WASC and NLSA sat down with us, I actually broke down in tears just reflecting on these past 2 school years at West Portal Lutheran and just all the different changes that have happened, how we had to deal with COVID at the outset, I know of last year when I first came on board, and just reflecting on what a good God we have, and also what a great community that we have. I'm very, very grateful, as I mentioned earlier. Words cannot express just all the wonderful, beautiful pictures of community that I've experienced as a part of being back here at West Portal Lutheran. I myself need a break. I will be taking a solid break, a week off right after the school year ends, to take care of my own mental health, spiritual health, and just to separate from the busyness and routine that is the school day and the school year. But as we close out this year, I do want you to know, parents, that we as staff and faculty are just very grateful for all that you do to contribute to us and to continue to contribute into my own well-being and checking in on myself and just asking how I'm doing. I'm very, very grateful for that. But as we bring these strategic initiatives forward and continue to move on some of the different areas that we want to move ahead in, we, again, need and invite your support as being a part of this. We know we cannot do it on our own. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for not our WPLS Live, but a version of it recorded. And we look forward to seeing you again in the new school year. Thank you.